Hey viewers, Fernando from SkyFi Audio. If McIntosh gave you carte blanche to assemble the top of a home theater system, these are probably the components you would pick. And this is exactly what I'm going to feature in today's video. 6 years ago, we were able to assemble a home theater system for a showroom in New York City, a McIntosh showroom. And they essentially let us pick from their catalog to design and come up with the coolest home theater system that we could. Now that was 6 years ago, so a couple of the components did change between now and then, especially the speakers, but we've now had the luxury of being able to acquire the same home theater system and assemble it here, or at least stage it here to show. So I thought I'd go over what these components are, how they're configured, and how much fun it is to be able to put together a system of the like. So first and foremost, let's look at the amplifiers, because they are pretty impressive to look at. These are the MC2 kilowatt or MC2KW monoblock amplifiers. Now, I know it's super confusing. There's a million boxes here, but let me break it down for you. First of all, remember it's a home theater configuration, so the most important channels are going to be the front channels, and that's what we've got here, believe it or not. These 6 boxes constitute 3 channels of amplification utilizing the MC2KWs. So what you see here, these 3 pieces are one channel. So this is the right amplifier, this was the center amplifier, and this is the left amplifier, constituting 2,000 watts per channel. Now, why so many boxes? Well, to go to the extreme in hi-fi, you simply start breaking down a single unit into multiple units. In other words, you take the complexity of a single box, whether it's a receiver or an integrated amp, and you break it even further into individual components. And that's how you go up the audiophile ladder, by dividing things into more boxes that are more specialized rather than cramming a bunch of things into one box. So this is the ultimate, dilution or really disintegration of an amplifier, where one box is the output module, the second box is the power module, and the third box is the power module. So these two provide the power, while these provide, or the output power, while these provide the control. So these all represent half of a channel of amplification, and everything's controlled and connected through here. And here you can see in the nomenclature MC2KW, power output 2,000 watts into 8.4 or 2 ohms. And McIntosh does that as they have for many, many decades by utilizing output transformers. So if we take a look at the back of this amplifier, we'll see that it is configured for tri-wiring. So there are actually 3 rows of outputs. So you can hook up or tri-amplify or tri-wire a speaker, and there are taps for 2, 4, and 8 ohms. So these 3 groupings of output posts all represent an impedance. The furthest being the top row being the 2, the middle row being 4, and the bottom row being 8 ohms. And then there are a series of heavy-duty industrial umbilicals that connect the power modules together to the output module. And believe it or not, each channel is going to require its 3 sets of power cords. So to run a single channel, you've got 3 power cords and 3 sets of speaker cables. All right, so let's talk about the rest of the channels. This was an Atmos theater composed of 9.2, I think it was at the time. So to power the top, sides, and rear speakers, we utilized a bunch of MC452s. These are 450 watt amplifiers, quad balanced, 1 generation old, from McIntosh. This is one of my favorite amplifiers. It was really the entry level for the quad balanced at the time this was produced, which is not that long ago. I believe there is a new model now, but very similar. So these 450 watt amplifiers were used to power the rest of the speakers, the auxiliary speakers in the system. Quite a feat. So there were thousands of watts of amplification for this theater, but it was a very, very large room. Must have measured 60 feet long by 30 wide by, probably had a a 35-foot ceiling. So it was quite a room to fill, and we did just that. Now for speakers, eventually the room landed with these amazing XRT2.1 Ks. These are line array speakers like you've never seen. Probably the highest tweeter density per square foot we've ever seen. Something like 40-something tweeters and 20-something mid-ranges. It has a set of 6, well, let me zoom in on each. So here are the tweeters. And these are, the mid-range is broken down into several channels. This is, I believe, a 4-channel speaker, or 4-way speaker. These line array panels are detachable, which is really neat. They attach in place by these nuts that are, we actually have these magnetic covers for them. So this speaker, even though it's 500 pounds or so, it's actually fairly manageable in the world of tall, heavy speakers, as these modules, the base modules, do separate right at this point here. So if we remove this grill, you can see the mid-range units here. Seem to be some sort of carbon composite. So these decouple right about waist high. So this top unit does come off, and so does this line array, making it a little bit more manageable. So quite an impressive speaker. Now line arrays for large rooms are absolutely amazing. They're able to project far, far into the room without blowing away the people that are closer to the speaker. So if you've got a very large room where you like to walk around, maybe there's a seating area and then in the back there's a bar, there's nothing better than a line array. And that's why they use them in concert halls. It's quite a great technology for large venues. Looking at the back of the speaker, let's see if I can show you. Here's the tri-wiring that mimics the amplification. So the 2 kWs were obviously meant to go with these speakers. You see there are 3 sets of taps for the high. So let's see, they've labeled them mid-highs, low, and subwoofer. So the woofers here are a set of 6 8-inch long throw woofers. All right, for the center channel, they use this monstrous center that is, I think, a generation old at this point. It's not current like the other ones are. These are the XCS2K. So it's a generation old center channel speaker, but still incredibly capable. Also utilizes some sort of horizontal line array versus vertical. So here are the 2.1 kWs. For processor, I think it was a 160 that we pulled out of the system. Generation old flagship home theater processor. Here it is, MX160. Sorry for the glare. And then for the, well, while I'm back here, let me show you the subwoofer. The subwoofer was a Gravis by Sonus Faber. This is the largest sub they make. It's a Gravis 6. Quite an impressive piece. Must be almost 2 feet cubed in size. And in the front, it's treated just like most Sonus Faber speakers with this really interesting grill material. They've always used these rubber bands as sort of a cosmetic and functional grill. It is raised and ported at the bottom. As you can see, it's on some sort of plinth. All right, so that's the subwoofer. There are 2 of these on the system. And lastly, let me show you the well, not yet, not last, but for the rears and the tops, there were 6 of these great XCS 200 speakers. These also feature a sort of an array for the mids and the tweeters, similar to the XRT 2.1s. These are pretty substantial speakers. I can see 2, 4. We've got 6 of them sitting right here. And lastly, for the side channels, I should have showed you what I was there already, but let me go back to them. These were the side channels. We've had these in the shop before. These are the 1Ks. And so it's got a pair of woofers at the bottom, and then also substantial line array. In this case, they flanked tweeters with the upper mids. Also, everything's finished in the high gloss black. So that's about it. Obviously, there was some power conditioning happening on the system as well. You can imagine with all these devices, the 2 kWs were plugged right into the outlets, but there was a series of MPC 1500s like this one running the other amplifiers, processor, and all the other signal paths. So these components will be available. Some of them will be available online for purchase, like the MC452s, and there's a 302 and MX160. So some of the discontinued products you can buy on our website at skyfiaudio.com. Current products are limited to in-store purchases only. So we cannot ship these. We will not disclose price over the internet. If you're interested in any of this current inventory that is in production right now, so that's for the MC2KWs, the 2.1Ks, you'll have to come into the store and make a face-to-face purchase. Let's look at some of the specs on these speakers, or on the amplifiers, because they're worth sharing some of the topology. Let me work back to my bench. Excuse the mess. So here we go, the 2KWs. Some of the critical specifications. So this is because the autoformers were able to deliver 2,000 watts into 2, 4, and 8 ohms. Number of channels is 1. Solid state circuitry with autoformers we've discussed. And unit weight varies around 125 pounds per module. So quite substantial. We will acquire all the cartons, all the original, not the original, but all the proper McIntosh double cartons that ensure that these things travel properly. A couple other things to note: the quad balance technology. Obviously, the power guard is built into these amplifiers, like on all current McIntosh products, or most of them. And 200 amps is the speaker binding post type capacity. The backlighting is all done via glass fiber and LEDs, which is great. So that's about for those. Looking at the XRT2.1Ks, floor standing speaker, 2,000 watt power rating. Obviously, that's a good match for the 2K amplifiers. 81 drivers in total, which is absolutely crazy. There's a great video on YouTube. We'll provide a link to this video as well, so you can. It's only about a couple minutes long on some of the features of it. But let's look at the specifications. It's an 8 ohm speaker with a rating of 2,000 watts. Frequency response is 14 hertz at the low end and 45 kilohertz at the high end. It's some of the biggest band we've seen. 90 dBs of sound pressure level. 6 woofers at 8 inches. They're saying it's nanocarbon fiber Nomex honeycomb long throw. That's a mouthful, but essentially it's a carbon material. Mid ranges, also a carbon, the same, almost the same. These are honeycomb and long throw. So 6.5 inches, 2 of them, and then the upper frequency. The upper mid, which is on the array panel, 28 drivers at 2 inches, magnesium domed, and then tweeters, 45 tweeters in that line array, 3/4 inch, and they are made of aluminum magnesium dome. Unit weight is 354 pounds, ships at 468 pounds, and we will acquire the cartons for these as well. So that's it for the 2.1Ks. So anyway, if you'd like to know more about us or about these products, SkyFi Audio is our website, where you can see, let me show you a trick. If you go into collections, just arrived, that is where you see the things that are just about to hit on our mailing list or have already just been released. And a lot of people are anxious about, well, when are you releasing this Tandberg that you mentioned a month ago? Well, we always say, well, keep an eye out for email blast. But if you want to try to get ahead of our email blast, if you go into collections, just arrived, there's a couple hour difference between what's arrived and what is we've blasted. So if you go down this collection, you'll see here the McIntosh MC452, as well as all the other all things that arrived recently. Here are the XCS200 speakers, MX160 is up here. So anyway, SkyFi.com is our website. And if you'd like to visit our showroom, it's quite an interesting showroom. We've got some crazy things here if you're into cars. We've got them floating up in the air. There's always some sort of restoration happening. Or if you're into stereo gear, do make an appointment. We've got probably one of the largest collections of vintage McIntosh equipment. Not the largest, but probably up there. We certainly have the most Daisakara tuners assembled in one spot. We seem to have about 11 or 12 of them. If you're not familiar with the Daisakara, we have a great video going over some of the features. But anyway, here's the shop. Make an appointment if you'd like to come visit and see some of these things. And give us a thumbs up if you appreciate the videos, and be sure to follow us to keep us motivated. Thanks for watching.